up, everybody? It's RedJed right back with you to review the latest pro wrestling news and part of wrestling reigns, baby! Let's get into it. We got a busy evening ahead here at Wrestling Rants. A triple threat of rants. That's not one, not two, but three rants today for y'all. We're going to start with top 10 takes. And then we're going to move on to must-see matches of the week. And then we will close it off with a retrospective this week, or actually this day in wrestling history, excuse me. We're going to look back on everything in pro wrestling that happened on this day, June 22nd. So, let's talk about our top 10 takes first and foremost. This is going to be all about Ring of Honor. And as a follow-up, kind of, sort of, from the weekend in Chicago, where I saw Ring of Honor taped with Collision. And not too long ago, just last month, I also saw Ring of Honor taped at the Dynamite taping in Las Vegas. So I've seen Ring of Honor being taped a couple of times now here in the last month, and I have some thoughts on it. That's for damn sure. Ring of Honor right now to me is there's a lot missing in the brand. I think there is no identity that's really been set yet for this brand. And judging by what I've seen when I was at these last couple of AEW shows and when Ring of Honor was taped, there's a lot I can take from these experiences because the fans were, generally speaking, once Dynamite and Collision ended in Rampage, people just left. They were not interested in anything from this brand. And something's got to give with the Ring of Honor brand. I know the Ring of Honor television is exclusive to Honor Club. I have some thoughts on that as well we'll cover in this rant. But this is a top 10 takes on everything Ring of Honor, and particularly what changes could be done to Ring of Honor to make it stand out and uniquely as its own brand. So let's get into the top 10 takes about essentially how to make Ring of Honor better. So let's talk about it. First and foremost, number 10 on the top 10 takes. I think to establish brand identity a little bit better, I think you have to completely eliminate whatever the generic theme that they have for Ring of Honor is. I don't care for it. It's not catchy. It's super ass generic. I think they need to really consider on the outset of these shows having a better video package to start the show, something of substance. And that goes along with the theme as well. So I guess I package that as number 10. Opening video package / theme song for Ring of Honor. Y'all need to change that up big time. I'm not saying do like Tony Khan did with Collision and buy a theme, like a famous song to use as a theme. I'm not saying that, but you need to do something different than what this generic Ring of Honor theme is, because that just starts off the show on a kind of a really flat note, and you need something a little bit more substance to it to open the show and to get that video package just a little bit more special looking. It just, again, very, very generic. All right, let's get into number 9. Number 9 is something that Ring of Honor has done a little bit of, but I think they need to really lean into this deeper, and that is the partnerships with other wrestling companies. Impact, New Japan, AAA. Maybe Ring of Honor could get some sort of agreement maybe with CMLL instead of AAA to kind of differentiate and to establish that Ring of Honor partnership that back in the day was with New Japan and was with CMLL. So whatever the case, I just feel like Ring of Honor should be more of a call it like a Forbidden Door Junior kind of environment, where you really wouldn't know what to expect. You really wouldn't know who would be coming in at different times in Ring of Honor. And they are doing a little bit of that with New Japan. And we've also seen the inclusion of El Hijo del Vecino from AAA and things like that as well. So the potential is there. I think they just need to lean on it a little more, push forward on it a little bit, and kind of differentiate themselves even more than AEW does. And this is the company that we do partnerships with other groups, and other groups, wrestlers come into this company, and we have a nice little flow of things. So just a thought on that. Leaning into those partnerships more for Ring of Honor, I think would benefit them greatly and get more eyes on the product. And it would make the product a little bit more unpredictable in a sense. I think that would be all just a plus for this company for sure. Number 8. This is a huge problem, I feel like, with the Ring of Honor show. While I do like the in-ring most weeks than not, catch versus every week, more weeks than not, I'm giving the nod to Ring of Honor because they have more in-ring and quality in-rings in some cases too versus Impact. But with that said, I do feel like Ring of Honor needs to get away from the format they have for this show. What it essentially is it's like AEW Dark 2.0. You start with a match, and then you move to another match, and then you do another match after that. These are rapid fire matches. Usually in a 2-hour show, we get something like 12 to 14 matches. If they could slow that down, they could not just try and get as many matches as possible crammed into a show. That's the same format as AEW Dark. That really didn't, in a long-term way, connect with the fan base. Certain percentage of fans were okay with that, and like I said, I am an in-ring fan. I love the in-ring. To me, that's the most important part of the product, personally. People have different feelings on that. But with that said, it's not that I'm not necessarily not enjoying the Ring of Honor product in that sense with the in-ring, but there's a lot of stuff that I would kind of take away. And that would be endless squashes. And there's time and place for squash matches, don't get me wrong. But when you have something like 4, 5, 6 of them on a show, I don't know about that. Also, there's just generally speaking, and this is going to move into some other things here, but when you take the formatting away, which is essentially match, maybe a very short promo, then another match, then another match, then another match, then you open up more opportunities for compelling television, which I'm going to put as number 7. That's one thing that just Ring of Honor is missing. Compelling storylines, compelling programs. You get a few here and there. The Athena stuff with Kiera Hogan has been a program that I have been interested in. But the problem is that that's pretty much the only program that is consistently going from week to week and building upon each other. So that's a problem, big time, with this brand, is that you need storylines, you need angles, you need programs, you need this shit on the Ring of Honor shows to just separate it from just a straightforward in-ring with match after match, like I was talking about the formatting. You ixnay that, you add some interesting storylines into the mix and angles. I have literally only seen, I believe, one angle in Ring of Honor done in the backstage, for example. That is just not right. You have to do more to make a kind of a balanced product here where you have decent in-ring. That is something to hang a hat for the Ring of Honor brand, because that's kind of what they've always been known for on a certain level. But with that, you have to bring the storylines. You have to bring the angles, the feuds, the programs. All that stuff is very important, and that's something that is very much missed from the Ring of Honor product. To go with that, number 6, character development. There is almost zero character development on this show. There's a lot of new talent coming in where we may get a glimpse of them in the ring, maybe be impressed by what we're seeing. But then they have to take it to the next step. Who are these workers? Why are we supposed to care about them? What is their gimmick? Why are they here? What are they doing? I could go on and on about it, but character development is definitely needed in the form even of short vignettes you do in between the matches talking about the talent in Ring of Honor. They just did this in Collision with Scorpio Sky and I think Ricky Starks. They had a little profile on various people that they've done. They need to incorporate this in Ring of Honor, maybe even more importantly than AEW, because there's a lot of people coming into the Ring of Honor brand that are relative unknowns that people are not familiar with. It's a perfect opportunity then to get some vignettes going, get some character development going, and really light it up on that level. How about number 5? This is a crucial point, and maybe the most important point of them all. And that is Ring of Honor needs a separate creative team. They need bookers, they need writers, they need road agents, they need this shit. Very importantly, they have guys like, for instance, Colt Cabana, Christopher Daniels. Jerry Lynn is a de facto board of directors talent. Use him creatively. Use him and perhaps laying the matches out. Maybe they already are. But you have these talents. And in addition, you have other talents that were just signed by AEW for a creative level. This includes Chris Hero. This also includes Jimmy Jacobs. I think Jimmy Jacobs would be a perfect guy to be one of the lead guys in creative because he knows how to format a show properly with experience in Impact and in WWE with that. And he knows how to develop characters. We see this in Impact. Impact does a good job with character development with a lot of their talent. So they have the people that they can rely on. Let's utilize them. Let's get a separate creative team for this brand, and let's get it going. It's about time. Also, to piggyback what I was talking about the last couple of shows that I've been to for Ring of Honor tapings, it is an absolute must that Ring of Honor only tapes before Collision or before Dynamite. Doing it afterwards is just not doing a service to your brand. It's not doing a service to your workers. I've seen it with my own eyes, particularly at the Chicago taping after Collision ended, and well over half of the crowd left, which was unfortunate. But it's a sign that they need to take a look at with Ring of Honor, that people are not giving a shit about this brand to stay. And once people left, the in-ring product from the workers definitely suffered, I think partially because hardly anybody was there. That is very uninspiring for these workers to come out and try to make a name for themselves, try to stand out when hardly anybody's there to respond to the work. It's unfortunate. And it kind of defeats the point of having Ring of Honor in front of a large crowd in a large arena that Dynamite and Collision are in if the people leave. If this continues on, I would suggest Ring of Honor just go back to taping back in Orlando. At least you have a full house there, and they're very vocal. They're very much into this stuff. In fact, I may suggest as a way to kind of balance this out, they should continue to have the Ring of Honor tapings in Orlando, but perhaps ease back on the big marquee type of matches. That would be make main events for Ring of Honor every week. Do those at the Collision tapings before Collision starts. Take an hour, take even an hour and a half before Collision starts, and you can put some of those better high-level marquee matchups on there. Take away the squash matches, take away the 3 or 4 minute matches, put them on the Orlando tapings, get that balance going, and I think it might work a lot better. But one thing is key: do not do those matches after Dynamite, Collision, Rampage, whatever. Whenever you decide to do them, don't do them after the big shows. People peaked basically after the show's done, and they're like, okay, I'm good, I can leave now. And that's what is continuing to happen. So they have to figure something out with this. It is very crucial, I think, for the development of Ring of Honor to only do the matches before Collision. That guarantees a hotter crowd. The crowd's going to at least partially be there, or be there almost all the way by the time the taping ends and you get your bigger matches taped. Just a thought. Number 3 for Ring of Honor improvements. Definitely, my thought is cut the shows every week to 90 minutes. I think that would be a much better flow of things. In fact, if we go back to our previous thought of maybe taping in Orlando and maybe taping every week, maybe like an hour worth of content. I mean, you could even next day, maybe Orlando completely, you tape an hour worth of in-ring, you do a half hour of other stuff like angles and promos and vignettes and things like that, and you have a 90-minute show every week easily. Or you could, like I said, tape Ring of Honor's marquee matches before Collision, maybe only like half hour to 45 minutes worth of matches. You could do the other stuff from the Orlando tapings, the squash matches and the more developmental kind of stuff. So one thing is clear, 2 hours nonstop without any commercials or any breaks feels a little bit like burnout for the Ring of Honor brand. So I think cutting it down to 90 minutes would be a much better idea. How about number 2? This is a tough call to make here, because you have Ring of Honor content on Honor Club and you want to get Honor Club subscriptions up. That's an incentive. I've seen the success where NXT used to do that on the WWE network, and I think it did bring a different kind of crowd to subscribe. And for all I know, a lot of people may have subscribed to Honor Club to get this Ring of Honor show once a week. I don't know. I highly doubt it, and because of that, I think what they should do is not necessarily take the weekly ROH TV from Honor Club. You can drop that early, and then maybe on every weekend or something like that, a few days after it drops on Honor Club, you go ahead and you drop that episode of Ring of Honor on YouTube. I just think it would be a smarter idea to get more eyes on the product, because right now there just is not a lot of eyes on the product, period. You have to figure something out, and they have a very established Ring of Honor YouTube page, so why the fuck not? Drop it on YouTube 2 or 3 days after it drops on Honor Club. I think that would just be a perfectly fine idea and a strategy plan to get more eyes on the product. That's what they need right now more than ever. If Ring of Honor ever wants to get back on regular cable or any sort of channel, I think that's going to be key. That gets us to number 1 of the most important things that Ring of Honor needs to do to establish themselves and to get over better as a separate brand. This is absolutely key. Establish an actual Ring of Honor roster. Why this has not happened yet is beyond me. It seems so disjointed that you have Ring of Honor talent that are sometimes on AEW Dynamite, sometimes are on Ring of Honor. It's just kind of this back and forth malarkey. I have to give AEW a little bit of credit. They have eased back on that. Earlier in the year, there was a lot more Ring of Honor stuff featured on AEW television, like Ring of Honor championship matches and things like that. They've pulled back on that, but now you take it to the next step and you separate and establish a separate Ring of Honor roster from the AEW roster. If that means taking a guy like Claudio Castagnoli and taking the Ring of Honor world title from him, which has not done a fucking thing for the brand anyway, or Claudio, we don't even hardly remember that he's Ring of Honor world champion. You take away all of the AEW talent that are regulars on AEW and you keep them on AEW. You separate it. You can still get a solid roster of at least, I would think, at least 40 to 50 workers. that would be exclusive to Ring of Honor, as well as the title holders. I think that's very, very important that you separate the roster and the title holders. You do not have them appear on AEW programming. There may be exceptions, and you can occasionally do this, but by and large, I think it's very important that Ring of Honor creates a separate, singular roster to feature, format, and focus on each and every goddamn week. And that kind of just about covers my thoughts on what Ring of Honor really has to do to take a step forward, to gain some steps forward in getting their own established brand that people separately watch. Maybe, some people may watch Ring of Honor more than AEW, etc., etc. But as of right now, it's just not established. I don't know what kind of fan base they even have at this point. It feels like it's next to nothing, judging by how it looks when I go to these AEW shows and they do these Ring of Honor tapings. There's very little people that are engaged or interested in what Ring of Honor has to offer, and that's too bad, because this company has been around far too long to just kind of fizzle away as a secondary kind of like a fashionable brand that really is just there, that really isn't doing much. We still got the pay-per-views that Ring of Honor are doing. But my thought is, after the next one coming up here, which is in July, you start moving forward in establishing a separate brand for Ring of Honor. You focus on it, get some things changed in the formatting of the shows. You create an actual compelling 90 minutes of Ring of Honor every week. I think that would make a huge difference in the product. I guess time will tell if they do this or not. But like I said, another really big part of it is making a separate creative team exclusively for Ring of Honor and have them focus directly on that as well. All right, coming up next right here, Wrestling Rants, we are going to talk about the must-see midweek matches, taking a look back at everything that happened this past weekend, that happened past Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So come on right back here, because it's a pretty big list this week for the must-see midweek matches. See you right back here! I can't talk. Midweek must-see matches coming up next, right here, Wrestling Rants.